Hey everybody, it's Eric the Horror Man, and welcome to another Top 10 Tuesday. Since 2020 is now over, and basically that year was completely hell for everyone because there was no conventions or any type of events that we all could go to because of the damn COVID. But hopefully this year will be a little bit better. So since 2020 is over, I figured I'd do top 10 movies from 1990 that turned 30 years old just last year when 2020 was like over. So these are movies from 1990 that just recently turned 30 years old in that year of 2020. So first up at number 10 for one of the movies from 1990 that turned 30 years old last year is Slumber Party Massacre 3. This movie is not bad. It's fun, even though I like the first two Slumber Party Massacre movies better. The third one is okay. It's not too bad. Where friends decided to have a little party and they met this guy on the beach and they decided to invite him to the same party. But turns out they ended up inviting the wrong person because turns out he's actually a drug killer who's just here to ruin the party and just kill people with the drill. So Slumber Party Massacre 3 from 1990, that's one of them that turned 30 years old just last year. Next, at number 9, is Psycho 4, The Beginning. This was a TV movie that they did back in 1990 where Norman Bates gets a phone call from a radio show on the topic matricide, what makes boys kill their mothers. And he ends up reliving his childhood memory here of when he was a young boy who ended up killing his mom. So this one is basically like a flashback to scene of how Norman became of who he is today. And also we get a look at what his mom was like back then too. So Psycho 4, not bad for a TV movie that they decided to do, but it's actually very fun. Next, at number 8 is Hard to Die, aka Swarty House Massacre 3. This movie is just way, way out of print. So if you think about getting this movie, good luck on trying to get it because it's a very high price because this movie is definitely out of print. I bought this off of eBay a couple years ago, and the seller had to throw in an extra movie in there as well because these two movies are like burn on demand movies. But hey, I'm fine. I'm happy as long as I got this movie in my collection now. That way I don't have to save the movie on my phone and hang on to it. I'm good. So basically, this is about where a group of women working at a high-rise building for a lingerie company gets this mysterious package, and turns out in that mysterious package is the spirit of Hochstetter, who ends up terrorizing the girls in the high-rise building. So now they have to find a way to kill the spirit of Hochstetter. So Hard to Die, very fun movie. I definitely enjoyed the opening theme music to the film when the movie starts. Next, at number 7, is The First Power. I remember seeing this movie a long time ago when I was a kid, and I thought this movie was good. Then I was so glad that this movie got a Blu-ray release because this movie is just so much fun to watch with Lou Diamond Phillips in it, where he plays a LA cop who goes after his killer that was supposed to be dead in a gas chamber but gets brought back to life by Satan. But every time he kills the killer, it turns out the killer keeps jumping out of bodies and possessing someone else. So when he thinks he killed a killer, it turns out he ended up killing someone that the killer ended up possessing. So now he has to find a way to defeat this killer for real, even though he's been possessing people or by just jumping in and out of bodies. But he also gets help from a psychic who can predict the killer's next move. So, The First Power, very fun movie. I definitely recommend checking it out. Next is It, the original. This was like a TV miniseries that they did. This one has Tim Curry playing Pennywise. Of course, everyone knows about this movie and everyone knows what it's about. Where here are 7 kids. Kids ends up trying to put a stop to this evil shape-shifting clown who feeds on fears and ends up killing kids. But then 27 years later go by, they come back to their hometown to see if they could put an end to Pennywise once and for all. So It, the original, very fun to watch. Next, at number 5, is Child's Play 2. Right here. Child's Play 2. This is a sequel to the very first one, where Chucky gets rebuilt again from the Play Pal toy factory and continues to seek Andy Barkley who would transfer his soul out of the doll and into him. Because he's looking to be human again, because if he stays trapped inside the doll and starts turning human, there's no way he's going to be able to get out. He'll be trapped. So, Child's Play 2, very fun movie, especially the finale at the Play Pal Toy Factory. Next, at number 4, is Night of the Living Dead, the remake. This movie is a very fun zombie remake by Tom Savini. I definitely remember watching this remake so many times a long time ago when I was a kid, and I thought this movie was just so much fun, and I thought Tony Todd did a very good job but as Ben in the remake of Night of the Living Dead. Basically, this one is about where 7 strangers are trapped in a farmhouse and they're trying to avoid from getting killed or eaten by zombies because some radioactive material ends up bringing the zombies back to life. So, the remake of Night of the Living Dead, I highly recommend watching this because this is a fun zombie classic remake. Very fun. Next is Misery. Yes, another Stephen King movie that everyone is very familiar with. Even though this is not horror, it's more of a suspense movie where a writer gets into an accident during a snowstorm and he's found by this woman who claims to be his #1 fan, who is a nurse. And once she ends up reading his newest manuscript, then turns out that her favorite character was killed off. She wants him to rewrite a new book on Misery. But she also intends on keeping him as like her own prisoner. Like she wants to keep him for the rest of her life. Because she doesn't want no one to know that he's still alive and that he's being held captive in her house. So this is a movie that Kathy Bates got an Academy Award for. And this movie is just very suspenseful, very fun, and that one certain part that makes everybody cringe is the howling scene with the sledgehammer to the legs. That part still makes me cringe, and it would make everybody cringe who ends up remembering seeing that scene in this movie. So, Misery, very fun movie to watch. Definitely recommend checking it out. Next, at number 2, is Darkman. This movie is a very fun action movie, even though it's not horror, but it's a very fun action movie with Liam Neeson, and the guy who directed it is the same guy who directed all the Evil Dead movies, Sam Raimi. This movie is basically about where a scientist who is like left for dead by gangsters and is like horribly scarred and basically all bandaged up, and he uses science as his friend to imitate his enemies because he's working on synthetic skin and he can make copies of their enemies' faces to make it look like you get the enemies. So, like, you got the real enemy and you got like a fake enemy, which is actually here Darkman being the fake enemy. Here, because like it's like looking at a mirror, like you see yourself, and that they don't know who's who. So, Darkman, very fun action movie. I definitely recommend checking this out because this is a very fun action movie, and I thought Liam Neeson did a very good job playing Darkman. The sequels are good too, but the first one's definitely the best. And at number one, and of course, this has to be a number one because why wouldn't it be number one? And that's Tremors, the very first Tremors. This movie ended up turning 30 years old last year, and when part 7 came out, they decided to have like top 30 moments from the Tremors movies. I haven't seen the special features yet, but that's just what I recall. So, the first Tremors, definitely a very fun movie. We got townspeople at a small desert town known as Perfection, Nevada, are being taken out by underground man-eating worms. And these worms, they hunt by sound. So they have to find a way to fight off against these giant underground man-eating worms because they hunt by sound. They have no eyes. Is it? I thought that Kevin Bacon did a very good job in this one. And of course, who hasn't seen Tremors and who does not love Tremors? Because this movie is just one of my favorites, and it's just so much fun to watch. The rest of the sequels are good too, but the first one is definitely the best. And yes, there are some funny parts in it as well, like when they were trying to pole vault from one rock to the other. When Earl wants to take a stab at pole vaulting to the rock, he's like stranded and he just falls back onto the rock going shit. So there are some funny moments in the Tremors movies, but the first one is definitely the best, and I highly recommend checking it out. So Tremors, that's my number one for movies that turned 30 years old last year, back in 2020 from 1990. Alright guys, so that's my top 10 Tuesday for movies from 1990 that end up turning 30 years old just last year in 2020. Would you guys think? Was there any good movies that you like, that you recognized, that's like your favorites? Please let me know in the comments down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts, and stay tuned for some more videos. Also, like and subscribe to your channel. Later.